Go ahead.
I was going to say, you know, we were talking a little bit earlier about you, Kirsten, because I'm just messing up with your name.
That's okay. Thanks for even
I know. But you know, you've made some interesting choices in terms of you know, roles and so forth. And I'm just wondering, do you purposely look for things that are just people haven't done? You know, because we were just talking about like melancholia and other things, and it's just you tend to gravitate towards the unusual.
Well, for me, it's I gravitate towards the director always. You know, a lot of times, usually you know, I'd rather do a script that I find. I'm not talking about this film, but I'm just talking in general. Like that I maybe it's not amazing and work with a great director than something that's an amazing script with a director who I think is mediocre, because it's really all up to them. They're the orchestrators of the entire process. So with Juan, he was such a visionary director, and I loved his short films so much. So I knew that the story would be important, but also the visuals would be so magnificent, you know, and so that's part of the reason I signed on to this film. It was a concept that I'd never heard of before, you know, so it was really incredible.
Did it come across in your mind's eye as it did on the screen that it was finished product?
I honestly didn't know exactly what it would look like, but Juan showed both of us, you know, mock-ups or pictures and things, and it's interesting because it felt real still, you know. It wasn't too sci-fi or anything like that. It felt grounded in reality. It was just so beautiful and something that I'd never seen before.
Both of you, what was the most difficult scene emotionally, and what was the most difficult physically?
Yeah, I mean, physically that's easy. It was a scene where we were in, they basically built a room on a wheel when I sort of flip upside down for the very first time, and I take out the weights and I'm in the kind of storeroom. So that was actually, I was kind of loose in the room, and the room spun 180 degrees, and I had to do a kind of backflip and sort of land on my feet, you know. So that was one of my prouder cinematic moments, you know. But it's weird, because I mean, in these days you see these special effects films, you don't even think about what goes into actually getting that one shot that lasts all of 5 seconds, you know. But yeah, I was very proud of that. Yeah, emotionally, and yeah, a lot of the stuff, you know, where you're actually you're doing, when we're meeting on the mountaintop, and you know, we've been pulled apart and we have to see each other again. Obviously, when you're shooting the scene, you know, Kirsten isn't there, so you have to sort of draw on all those things and sort of act to the ceiling, basically.
I definitely think I stood on a ladder once. It was just like yelling back to Jim. I remember doing that.
So what about you, Kirsten, for the most emotionally and physically difficult?
Physically, I wasn't really put through the ringer on this like Jim was, and I had to learn the tango, which was fun. Yeah, I had a lot of classes. It was good. And so that was really, really fun to me. Emotionally, the hardest one was like thinking Jim had died, because we were doing it. I was literally lying against a green mat or a foam mat, and there was green screen all around. It's such an emotional moment, thinking you've lost the love of your life forever. And it's just, you know, as many people as we are here, like this close. And it just sometimes, I mean, that's making a movie, but the wiring and all the logistics of it, and to be emotional over and over again, it's hard in that kind of situation, because it feels so not real. I really had to rely on Jim's acting to help me, you know, on his face, to help me, you know, get those emotions up, because it can be a numbing process sometimes. It definitely can.
So what kind of tango dancer are you?
I was getting pretty good. I mean,
yeah.
I was jumping up. But, I did a lot of
Take a long time to learn?
I had a lot of classes, yeah. Yeah.
Because there's this whole metaphysical kind of thing about the tango. It's like the dance that's a metaphor for love or something like that. Did you get that?
Well, for her, it was this, you know, to go to this club where both worlds are allowed to participate in. You know, above they were dancing the same music as below. So I think she was drawn to that place because of that, and something that, you know, she couldn't remember but was inside of her. And also, you know, when you feel lost in something, like the music and the dance of that, I think was like her passion, and what she, you know, her, you know, release, basically.
Well, I'm gonna look for you at next time there's a Tango Fest.
Oh yeah.
Here in LA.
Ha 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 ha.
Is that Kristen
I didn't
kicking
even know
up?
there was a Tango Fest.
What stood out for you when you were both reading this script? What did it for you? What was the weirdest thing you were? Because I can only imagine what this read was like.
I mean, for me, it was just like a fairy tale, and I hadn't been a part of something like that, and I thought it was so sweet and so special at the same time. And there are little things in there like the face cream he invents, all these things that felt prevalent to like, you know, our time, but then in this beautiful fairy tale world. So and then Juan was really the person that I knew that would make a special movie.
Jim, that's a.
Yeah. Just follow Jim.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you read a script and you don't really understand it completely, you know, that can be more exciting. You know, you can read a lot of scripts, you're like, oh, I've seen that before, or, oh, you know, it's just playing out a sort of structure of film that you're so familiar with. So when you read it and you can't even kind of visualize it in your mind, you know, that can be intriguing. So you're just sort of like, okay, well, what is this going to be? What's it going to look like? So the next stage for that was just to sort of see some imagery and to start, because I couldn't conjure it up in my head at all. You know, when it's just words on a page, you can't visualize what Juan, the director, is visualizing. I didn't know if it was set in the future. I just couldn't really kind of work it out. So, you know, when they sent me a book, which they sent both of us, this amazing book of all the kind of the imagery and what Juan was hoping to achieve, you know, then it was like, wow, this could be really exciting, you know. And there's one thing being able to just graphically design something, and it's another thing being able to take that and turn that into a film. So I was amazed at what they managed to achieve as a movie, you know, and how beautiful it kind of looked. And
You
that
guys,
it exceeded expectations, actually.
you guys are a really hot couple on screen. I got to tell you.
Thanks, nice. I know, I was gonna high five you too.
That is great lengths that you went through to get her to go out with you.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, did you have to leverage that off of a past experience? I mean, come on.
No. For me, no. That's all I have to say, no.
So have you not gone to those great lengths to get a girl to be your Valentine, or what?
Not to kind of get the girl, and I've travelled across the world to go and see a girl to surprise her or something like that, but you know, we were already in a relationship at that time, so no. I normally just go to the pub.
Was she surprised?
Yeah, when I turned up, yeah, for sure, it was nice to surprise her like that, yeah.
Because I'm thinking, this can't be an American guy. That's like so not happening.
An American guy.
That's really funny.
Well, an
Am I
American
right?
wouldn't do that, is that what you're saying?
I don't think so.
No.
No.
Oh my God.
Unless he could
what
text
Americans
it.
are you meeting? No.
She needs a
I
hand
don't
pumps.
think so.
I do.
Go to
You need
Middle
someone-
America, then you'll find a real man.
Oh, really?
Well, that's what I hear.
I just started texting, so maybe I'm just losing myself in the cyber world and forgetting
Yeah.
about this one.
Can you talk about, it's so challenging, this film, as actors, I would think, because of where you're looking up, and there were apparently 3 different levels to look up, plus the wire work, plus everything else to do with this movie. Did you find it even more challenging than to connect with the material and to act?
Yeah, it was an extra challenge, you know, it wasn't just like, you know, 2 people in a room and, you know, you can kind of connect in that sort of way. So yeah, often, you know, Kirsten wouldn't even really be there, you know, visually. So yeah, it just forced you to sort of push your imagination that bit further and have to work that bit harder to make it, because without the connection of the 2 characters, then you've lost the story, really. And, you know, Juan was very sensitive about that, and, you know, talked to us a lot about that and wanted us to sort of, you know, create a connection with the 2 characters, and he did as much as he could to make that as organic as possible. So there were times when, you know, we would be shooting the scenes simultaneously, but we would be on different sets. So there'd be the floor set and there'd be the ceiling set. So you would actually be kind of doing the scene at the same time, and that allowed for sort of like, you know, happy accidents and a bit of spontaneity.
But you can't look at each other. So
Less with our scenes, though, I would say, right?
Yeah, I did a lot of that stuff with the Bob Borchowitz character. They built 2 sets that were side by side, and so me and Tim Spall, the actor who played that character, would be, you know, shooting the scene at the same time, and you would have a red dot, so wherever he moved, I would be able to follow it with my head. So it freed him up to be able to move. He didn't have a set position where he had to go. As an actor, he could just move around spontaneously, and my eye line would still be able to kind of follow.
What was it like working with Tim?
For me, amazing. You know, he's an actor that I've just grown up with, basically.
Yeah.
And I did a film with him where he played my dad in a film called Heartless, and we had one scene at the very end. And you know, he's a bit of an institution back in England. And it was actually we were looking for someone to play that character. So I said to Juan, you should definitely try and get Tim Spall to play Bob, because he would be amazing. So it was a real joy when he agreed to do it, and it all kind of came together very last minute, actually.
Can you just answer my question that I'd asked about the difficulties, and were you connected to the material right away, or was it hard with everything else that was around you?
You know, it was hard because Jim and I have very few scenes. What ended up being to, you know, explain the relationship, explain what happens. He has this little kid. So sometimes it was hard for me to fill in the dots just with my face. And like one line could, you know, would have to mean a lot more than, you know, just sort of telling a really, you know, simple but big and complicated story because she lost her memory. So, but a lot of the scenes for me, I never really had, I mean, I was on wires and stuff with him, but, you know, I didn't really have as complicated of a time with all that stuff. Then Jim got the brunt of all that work.
Was it weird having an upside-down kiss again, and was that in the script, or is it kind of an homage to your previous upside-down work?
She insisted upon it. She wouldn't do the film unless there was an upside-down.
We weren't really upside down though. I was actually up against a rock facing down, but had to look like I was relaxing on a rock. And then Jim was just in front of me, so it wasn't really an upside-down kiss. It was like in front of me still.
Well, that's good.
It's gotten easier to do this kind of, because you've both done effects heavy films. You did the Spider-Man films. I mean, from then till now, it's gotten easier to work. They made it easier to work with that stuff. Is it easier for you to get more used to it, so you know when you go into something, you're just going to look at a green wall? It's easier to.
Easy.
No,
it's not like it's easy. I mean, here we built a lot of the sets were built. We had the forest. It's just the technicalities that like slow things down. It's like that's why it's sometimes, you know, it's more, I think, exciting, you know, when you're not working with all the special effects, because it kind of just starts to hinder you more and more depending on how uncomfortable this feels, or there's a lot of more little annoying things to get over in order to make the scene feel real. But then you just go for it, even though, you know, you're in pain and you've been in a harness all day, you know. The most important thing is the story, and no one knows watching the movie how, you know, was filming that day or how you felt for real, you know.
Yeah. What's next for both of you?
Last question.
What's next for both of you that we haven't seen, maybe, or that you're shooting?
I have two films coming out, one called Electric Slide, which I shot here in Los Angeles with Chloe Sevigny, and it was with a first-time director called Tristan Patterson. And he's a really interesting young director who'd made a really cool documentary that I'd seen, actually, so I was really excited that he was making a feature film. And it's a cool story, but you know, it's about a bank robber. It's a true story about this guy called Eddie Dodson in the 1980s. He used to run a furniture store on Melrose Avenue, and he used to hang out with kind of all the kind of high-end celebrities like Jack Nicholson and Mick Jagger, and he basically got a drug addiction and turned his hand into bank robbing. And he ended up becoming one of the. He robbed the most amount of banks in the shortest amount of time. So he robbed 64 banks in 9 months. So it was
Electric sliding through all of them.
Just cruise.
I did a movie recently called Two Faces of January with Viggo Mortensen, and it's based on a Patricia Highsmith novel, and it's a kind of a thriller. It is a thriller, but in Greece.
Cool.
Oh,
Thanks, guys.
You got to shoot in Greece. How nice is that?
Yeah, in Crete. It was really amazing. And Istanbul we shot, and then rainy old London.
Can you sign
Thanks very
this
much.
for me?
This was Montreal, right? You shot
Yeah,
this?
yeah.
Did you guys get to hang out in the clubs?
Thanks.
Loads, man. Yeah, it was
It's
a
like
really
little
cool place.
I'm gonna pass it to
Paris
Jim.
mini or
Yeah, I
something.
loved it there, you know. Yeah, it was fun. They have a great
Yeah,
music
that'd be
scene,
awesome,
sure.
thanks.
That's what I mean, yeah.
Did you get a chance to go to any of the other islands? Because my family's from there.
We just went to Crete, and then we had to work in Athens for a week after that, but it was amazing. And I love cats, and they're everywhere.
They are everywhere.
Yeah, I would just go to the store and buy cat food and just sit there and feed them.
They're all fat.
You became that cat lady.
I am a cat lady, and I'm proud of it.
Uh-oh.
Crazy cat.
So that's the clanging in your purse that we heard when you walked in, was the can of cat food.
Like what?
Cans of cat food.
Like